Welcome back to this third installment of how we're building. Well, we're going to change the name now. We're going to go with, we're not changing the name of the titles, of course, because people are not going to understand what we're talking about. But we're going to use the term TMV, Transmedium Vehicle. So if I say TMV, that's shorthand for what we're talking about. The first clip, if you had not seen it before, was taken recently from the cockpit of a plane flying in Colombia, and it was put on the internet by a Colombian model, and it showed whatever that may appear to be flying past. So the reason why I'm showing it here is I took that image. Later on, I'll show you where I was using Midjourney, which is a text to image generator, to create some kind of images of some of the designs that we came up with in the prompts. But before then, I said, well, let me get some kind of language to use in the Midjourney. So I took a still from that image, which you see in front of us. Midjourney has a function where you can show it a picture and say, hey, describe what's in this picture. And so couple things before we get into that. So I showed you the clip. This is a still from that clip. Now, I actually just ran this clip into Midjourney, but after that, then I ran this image through another artificial intelligence image upscaler. And this is what that showed. I'll let you sit for a minute and look at this, I don't want it to get cut off from, I'm going to run this through. I was clippy a little on the last one because I ran everything through an editor is supposed to take out the ums and ahs, but it was a little too aggressive. So I hope it's a little bit better this time. But look here at what the AI image upscaler showed with that picture when I upscaled it. So it's pretty dope. But here, so I put it in Midjourney and I told it to describe it. And here it put a flying UFO appears in a large sky, folded planes. The only thing that kind of was the same throughout, or kind of commonalities in all of the four different kind of breakdowns it put, was this folded planes. And you can see here, if you want to pause and read through all of them if you want, but folded planes here, mysterious space. This one actually called it a flying UFO appeared in a large sky. So folded planes make me think that, and this is where when you upscale it, not upscale it, but when you would click on and say, hey, what you describe, make it, these are the images generated. So my thought is that, we pretty much figured that these devices, if that's what we want to call them, for want of a lack of a better term, are folding space-time as they travel. This is how Midjourney kind of interpreted that image it saw. So let's get into what we're talking about. So I took the vehicle designed and a couple things. First, I put everything here, and then I asked ChatGPT. I told it to review the following prompts, consider the practicality and feasibility of reaching completion of the various concepts. You will rank them, and this is another little tool to use with GPT. I always say, the other way, but is to ask it to consider its decision in a step-by-step manner, and then also finding the flaws and faulty logic with each scenario, and even asking the prompter what was best. So bringing in, you can ask it to act as a resolver and I forget the terms now. But anyway, the thought process is, instead of just giving you an answer, ask it to think about its answer, consider it step by step, and look for any faulty logic. And this can give you even better responses. So I use that logic in a prompt and ask it to go through all of the prompts and say rank them. And so it felt that the most feasible was the first one, which the one I put number one, which I thought was I don't know if I thought most feasible, but I thought it would be simple to do. Here it said, because all these technologies focus on propulsion, doesn't involve self-repairing or morphing technologies, which it felt was the most difficult thing. So my second one, the 3D printing stuff, it put at the last. These areas are well studied, existing technologies further developed and combined. Second one, what about the human factors, operator comfort, talked about that as well. You could feel free to pause and read through any of these this one kind of going slow. Then it kind of went a lot into it felt that the mimicry of, I'm butchering that, natural life would be a good thing to consider as well. So My thought is video 4 would be looking at those concepts. So, I took what we talked about before. I took the first 3 that I mentioned and then a combination of them and compare and contrast. And that's what we're going to go over today. But the next one we'll go at looking at it had a lot of things that are the ones I put near the bottom. So we'll come back to that. But here, feel free to go through and read everything. Pause and read everything. So our first is design a transmedium vehicle with the while maintaining efficient communication with its base, detail the propulsion system. So one thing, and I'll kind of go through it 2 things at a time. So what it did is just basically describe the vehicle, gave it a name, and then talked about it. And so with that, I took each of these descriptions, put it back in ChatGPT, but this time I asked it to create a mid-journey prompt. I described what mid-journey was and gave it some examples and said, please. And that's the reason why I was using that at the beginning, that UFO, because I want to see kind of how mid-journey would describe something like that, right? But here nor there. I used this information to create some kind of mock-ups of what it would look like, but they didn't come out that well. So I only got like 3 out of like 12 or something that I tried. I only got like 3 or 4 that I'm going to show you today. And then I took some of this information and made my own mid-journey prompts that came out a little bit better. So we'll go through that near the end, maybe somewhat during it, each individual one, and at the end as well. So this first one was, they called it the Aqua Strato Galactica, described as streamlined conical shapes. I use this a lot for my prompts. That kind of worked out better. What I didn't like is that ChatGPT just would tell, I'll show you that in a little bit. It'll just would say the mid-journey, Aqua Strato glide flying through the space, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's supposed to know what that is. Anyway, so talked about its shape, propulsion system, a hybrid electric jet propulsion system for efficient, sustainable travel within Earth's atmosphere. But in the water, it would switch to a water jet propulsion system similar to submarines. In space, it would use ion propulsion systems. And so as we go through these 4 prompts that we fed through ChatGPT, I took out bits and pieces and I'm transferring them over to, I've made 2 other categories in the SAP folder. I didn't set it up to show, but one is for, the TMV drones we're going to make, transmedium TMDs. I like that. The TMDs, and then also the company. Like, we build a company, what all the steps we would take in terms of financing, manufacturing, blah, blah, blah. So starting the process, and near the end that we would say, okay, we were to do this, this will be the next steps, but let's not get in front of ourselves. The materials, they said they would like it to be durable, light resistant. So a titanium alloy frame with a carbon fiber composite outer shell with heat resistant material, with another layer of heat resistant material like silica tiles used on the space shuttle. Communication, pretty much simple things, VHF, UHF. Underwater, they would use a buoy system, kind of like how submarines use at times. Probably also using stuff that we don't know about, especially United States. Power supply, talked about using a compact nuclear reactor. Okay. Some of the other stuff we'll talk about, get into that in the future. We can think of other things. I'm thinking more of a compact, I guess a nuclear fusion reactor, but similar. Second one, they called this one the Nexium Transmedium Voyager. This one they felt was the most difficult to create with autonomous 3D printing and advanced materials, but we also took some of that information over to our drones just in case. We'll figure out, see what's up. Go ahead and read through this. They didn't talk much about the structure. It just had the outer, not so much the design, but just the composition. The outer layer is made from programmable smart materials, specifically self-healing polymers and metamaterials, which can alter their physical properties, such as rigidity, density, and shape. So I guess alter your shape. Why do you care? In response to changes in the environment. This is what I thought would be so dope. Listen, this vehicle employs a swarm of diagnostic nanobots embedded within the structure, and they'll get to a little bit more, and they continuously monitor the structural integrity and look for any problems down to the microscopic level. So dope. Once detected, communicate information to the vehicle's onboard AI system. with its learning algorithms, assess the severity of the damage, predicts potential impact, and determines the most effective repair strategy. The repair system is a blend of advanced 3D printing and nanotechnology located strategically throughout the vehicle are micro factories equipped with advanced molecular 3D printers. So dope. For larger repairs, the nanobots can assemble into larger structures, effectively becoming a swarm of tiny 3D printers. Energy management. This is also an interesting idea. Took this over to the idea of Jones to think about. High capacity, rechargeable, graphene-based supercapacitor battery that also uses solar, wind, even kinetic energy harvest during movement. It's dope. And the AI will continuously learn from each repair operation, improving its diagnostics and repair strategies over time. So increasing its ability for resiliency and longevity. I can see why they think that would be more difficult than some of these other ones. While we're at it, let's go back. So this is what a Astrostrato Galactica was kind of an idea of how they thought that would look, which is dope. And I think I have some engineering or another version of how they felt that it would look from like an engineering blueprint standpoint. Feel free to pause and take a look. Just some, like I said, some ChatGPT generated prompts that I threw up in, get rid of this so I don't confuse myself later on, that I put in Midjourney to see. This one, when I put these ones, the next one, this is where it talks about TMV with human factors, operator comfort. One of the pictures looked like a turtle flying through literally like almost they grew a large turtle and converted it into a vehicle. I was like, no, Triphibian. That's because it was, like I said, just giving the names and stuff. Aerodynamic streamlined body designed to reduce drag in all three mediums: land, water, air. This one was talking about like wheels transforming with wheels coming out or wings retracting. This was way more mechanically transforming, I felt. Hybrid system, advanced biofuel engine, electric motor. The biofuel engine is for taking off, kind of where need a little bit more oomph, taking off, landing, high speed chases, while the electric motor is used for cruising, underwater propulsion. Water jet propulsion system. I don't think this one they were thinking more of getting into space for, kind of being able to land on a different planet. We could have one of these kind of going around. So yeah, Triphibian didn't impress me too much. This one, so I took and kind of put them all together. We have the Tri-Navigator, and we have some images of that as well. This is the cockpit, what they kind of thought the cockpit would look like in the Tri-Navigator. Go ahead and take a look at that and why they would have that over there. But like I said, it was just that. And this is a kind of an image of kind of a engineering diagram of it being described from ChatGPT and taken into Midjourney. So this one, kind of has it all. And a lot of the information from this one was taken on. And I'll show that next. Briefly, what we took over to the information to start looking at to build the drone. And now I'm just drawing everything over. Then we'll spend time going through that and figuring out what's practical, feasible, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, air propulsion, a distributed electric propulsion system uses multiple small electric motors distributed along their wings and fuselage, resulting in improved lift, thrust, and maneuver VTOL capabilities, a hybrid electric jet engines, water propulsion, hydrojet system, and also an air cavity system to further reduce drag and improve underwater speed. So you create a thin layer around an air cavity system. Torpedoes use that. Space propulsion, ion thrusters as well. So I was thinking now we have to come up with a way of creating an engine that had all three of these in one. Advanced materials also using in this construction, carbon nanotube reinforced composite, self-healing polymers, also used in a swarm of nanobots that are able to detect damage and repair all throughout, which probably more than one, but strategically placed 3D printers, and we talked about that. Also looked at advanced ergonomics, life support systems, using solar panels, advanced energy storage systems, and just kind of, I guess it just said advanced energy storage, just kind of stopped at that one. This one also thought about what we probably would think about, we will talk about later in other things, quantum communication and the need for that high-speed, secure transmission. Those are the prompts and information, and I'll just show this quickly. So from that, I took over kind of the information. Pause and feel free to look at the things we need to think about adding into these systems. Fly-by-wire, distributed, distributed. Yeah, I already mentioned that. So I'll just show this because it's a little bit interesting. So, I was telling you, like when I gave the prompts, I would say, hey, this is ChatGPT, but I gave it all this information, but it would just say this in flight. So you can imagine that didn't help much, or just describing these things, Triphibian engineer diagram. You can feel free to pause and read any of this. So this is where I took the information myself and wrote a streamlined conical shaped transmedium showcasing advanced propulsion systems, kind of added all it in and gave it some different ones. And let's look at those pictures. I think these came out. So they all look very similar. And so I'm not sure if that's just, this was actually sweet. If I make a poster or a t-shirt of that one, son, go ahead and make sure that you are, pause because I'm not sure how much it's going to cut out when I run this through the filter. So I guess conical shape gives you this kind of image, I'm guessing. I'm not 100%, but it's kind of dope. I'm not going to lie. I am not going to lie. I thought these came out pretty good little images. That is all we have for this week. We'll go ahead and get things set up for next week. And like I said, it will be about looking at some of these other ones that talks about these biomimicry shaped, not even shaped, but just using those type of prompts, marine, avian life, bio-inspired. So with that, I love you. You love you. God loves us. And that's all that matters.